If there's a right way and a wrong way to start studying the Bible, I definitely chose the wrong way. And boy, was I in for a surprise. Hello, I'm David Lang, and this is Bible to Life, where we bring the Bible to life so that it can better impact your life. Now, when I became a Christian at age 15, I had no experience growing up reading the Bible, and so I didn't know one end of the Bible from the other. And I've done a video about becoming a Bible black belt where I talked about just how clueless I was in knowing, well, where were the Gospels, where were the epistles, all of these Bible book groupings that you hear about. I didn't know any of those, so I just kind of came up with my own groupings of books so I could find my way around. Well, a little while later, as I began trying to read the Bible in earnest, I tried, starting at Genesis and reading through Genesis. I probably got as far as the genealogies, all the so-and-so begat so-and-so, and gave up at that point. Then I decided, well, maybe I'll try reading the New Testament. And so I started in Matthew and probably got as far as the Sermon on the Mount and then kind of fizzled out again. So I was looking for a new place to begin, a interesting part of the Bible to begin reading. And I decided to start in the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, here's my insightful reason for starting there. I was familiar with the song Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds, which talks about there's a time for every purpose under heaven, a time for peace, a time for war, and so on. And I had known that song growing up. And in watching the movie Footloose with Kevin Bacon, when Kevin Bacon gives his big speech before the city council and he quotes Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, he repeated those lyrics that I said, hey, that's like that song by the Byrds. So I thought, hey, Ecclesiastes sounds inspiring. I'll start reading in the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, what I didn't know was that the book of Ecclesiastes is written by King Solomon when he's disillusioned because he's begun to look around at all of life and try to understand where is the meaning of life, and he comes to some rather cynical conclusions before he comes to the point of recognizing that there's nothing better for a man than to live the life that God's given him and find satisfaction in it. But the book of Ecclesiastes is about his rather circuitous journey to getting to that conclusion. And it begins like this. This is kind of a typical verse from Ecclesiastes. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. At that time, I was reading a King James Bible that my mom had lying around. And so it was all is vanity and vexation of spirit. And I thought I knew what that meant, and it didn't sound very inspiring to me. But I toughed it out. Ecclesiastes is a relatively short book, and so I managed to slog my way all the way through Ecclesiastes. I finally had gotten a book of the Bible under my belt. And so I thought, all right, we're doing good. Let's go to the next book of the Bible. Well, the next book of the Bible is Song of Solomon or Song of Songs, which is a series of love poems written between lovers who are celebrating the joys of married love. And I didn't know that either, and so I started reading. And I stumbled across passages like this. How beautiful you are, and how pleasant, my love, with such delights. Your stature is like a palm tree. Your breasts are like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree and take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like clusters of grapes, and the fragrance of your breath like apricots. I have vivid memories of reading Song of Solomon. And I was sitting on my parents' back patio reading this in a lounge chair, and I remember having the Bible in my hands and just slamming it shut and thinking to myself, I must have the dirtiest mind of anybody if I think that the Bible is saying what I think the Bible is saying. That can't be what the Bible is saying, right? The Bible is a holy book, and what I'm reading is very sexual. And so somehow I managed to get past that traumatizing experience and continue reading the scriptures. But I learned that day that the Bible is full of surprises. It's not what we expect it to be. And so often I hear people talk about what the Bible says, and I think, I don't think these people have really read it as thoroughly as they think they have, because they'll make statements about Jesus and what Jesus was like, and they'll make statements about who God is and what he's like and his character, and it seems clear to me that, well, the God you're describing and the Jesus you're describing are not the God and the Jesus of the scriptures. And so when we read the scriptures, we need to go to the scriptures with an open mind, and we need to be prepared to be surprised. It will surprise you. It will stretch your understanding and your concepts and your assumptions about who God is. And that's a good thing, because we are finite creatures and we are trying to comprehend an infinite God. And he ought to surprise us. He ought to be beyond what we ever think or imagine. Now, this week is Valentine's Day coming up, and it's appropriate that we talk about Song of Songs for two reasons. One, because Valentine's is coming up, but also I started this channel last Valentine's Day, and I started with a passage in Song of Songs. So a little later this week, we're going to look at some issues related to love and marriage and sexual purity, and we'll talk about passages from Song of Songs and Proverbs and some surprising passages. And so I hope you'll stay tuned for those. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss those videos coming up. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week leading up to Valentine's Day, and I hope you're surprised by your study of the scriptures.